Welcome back, and this is the final video in my 10-part series on GoldenEye speedrunning. In this video, I've collected as much advice as I could from as many runners as I could, including any who contacted me personally to offer their input. Hopefully this will give you a wide range of things to think about and possibly apply to your playing. Current players, hopefully this provides new insight and maybe will change how you yourself approach the game. A massive thank you to everyone who contributed. Anyone for whom I do not have a video or audio clip provided me with advice directly, either via Discord, Twitch, or the forums, and I've taken every precaution that I can that each viewpoint is presented as the author intended, avoiding my own personal biases and suggestions, especially when I personally disagree with the advice I'm presenting. If you feel that you have been wrongly represented or interpreted, please comment below on the video and I will pin the comment, but I hope I've done what I needed to do so that doesn't need to happen. The snippets of advice following are in no particular order. Any of those that stream have their Twitch displayed in addition to being linked in the description in order of appearance, so I encourage you to check them out.
Yeah, like learning the speedrun levels, like on SA. Start with SA and go from there, because SA is not insanely difficult in terms of like dying. But I think it's like a good balance of like difficulty and like game knowledge when you initially like start playing. Yeah, I think it's like a really good mix of like a lot of levels at least. They're like a really good mix of like doing a lot of things, so it like extends the amount of time that you're actually playing the game, and then also like I don't know, still being fast. I'm like Archives SA like comes to mind. It's like even if you're a newer player and you get like Archives SA like 120, like I still feel like you might be learning a little bit more than someone who just starts grinding for 16.
The best advice I can give is that lines are generally more important than looking down. I see many players playing with look down before getting good lines. I started S1 with lots of look up. Now I look straight down all the way to the first hut because I know the line is good. Copy world record strats without shame, but look up instead. Get used to the controls, then get good lines, then manage lag.
You want to talk about input display, and like my goal is to have like almost my whole times page just be, other than times I've already got the lifers on. I want it to be I want it to be all input display, and you could just like an advanced player that still needs some guidance could look at it and just watch a run with the input display and easily fucking get a good run. Just understand what to do a lot more. Like there's a lot of like things that we don't even know when we're just trying to teach someone something. We don't even realize that we're doing it all the time. But when you just watch someone's actual inputs, then it's way easier.
As a newcomer to the GoldenEye scene, it can be difficult to decide which times to go for and which levels to play to best acclimate yourself with the game. It's easy enough to say play whichever levels are most fun to you, but all levels offer a unique way of playing the game and developing your skill sets. Certain times or goals for yourself may take significantly longer to master than others, resulting in other levels you've neglected playing being left with an NA on your GoldenEye times page. I myself have always taken a strong liking to the level Frigate, which I've poured much of my time into while playing the game, leaving most other levels as an NA on my times page. While this style of mastering a small number of individual levels and not playing certain others can stagger your point rank escalation, the trade-off is the potential to see your name atop a leaderboard and cementing lifelong or historical records. When first playing the game, levels like Silo or Facility are easy to visibly see your improvement, while usually being newcomer friendly enough to allow you to PB more often. In comparison to Runway Agent or Bunker 1 Agent, where PBs or times worth points will not come nearly as often, while also being hard to detect where to improve. It is important to keep things fresh for yourself and not push yourself for a time or goal that isn't helping you develop.
My advice would be, it's really simple. I feel that it's very important to start with the fundamentals, like Dam 54, Runway 24, no nades, that kind of stuff, and build yourself up from there. Eventually, you'll develop a mentality to deal with harder and harder grinds, and as long as you don't expect immediate results and you keep on playing, you'll get the time that you desire eventually. That would be my advice.
My biggest advice would be don't be afraid to learn levels in segments. Like if you aren't comfortable with a strat or tricky movement, learn the stage, then add the strat. Use these building blocks because some people just play but don't learn.
Hi, I'm KevinDDR. I'm a GoldenEye and Perfect Dark speedrunner, and most recently I achieved the Air Force One world record all 3 difficulty sweep in Perfect Dark. When I first started out playing, I had a lot of trouble even figuring out any kind of process for learning levels, either with or without tutorials. Over time, and especially during Summer League, which I strongly recommend you play as a new player if possible, I realized that it's pretty important to approach a new level with a solid game plan for the strategies you're going to attempt in your runs. Even before you're able to execute any of these strategies, you should make either a mental or written out plan for how you will approach a stage. If you don't feel confident enough yet to do this, watch as many videos of various pace runs, not just world records, and not just your goal pace, until you have an idea for how all the different approaches to a stage and its various sections interact. Doing this will vastly decrease the amount of time you spend aimlessly failing in your practice sessions. Given that GoldenEye and Perfect Dark are primarily speedrun as individual levels, many fast strategies will have unfortunate luck-based elements. As players, this means that we'll often need to execute the correct approach while dozens or hundreds or thousands of times to achieve world-class records. As a result, it's very important to use your playing time wisely so that you can spend as much of your playing time as possible executing well and waiting for the good run to come together. More than anything else, however, make sure that you have fun whatever way you end up playing the games. Otherwise, you're just going to find that you can't put in the time necessary to get anywhere. If you find that you aren't, consider switching up your approach to setting your goals.
Maybe something about picking a level or playing through the game. Like my advice is always, if you want to get into it or if you want to have fun, play through the level normally or play through the game. Find the level that like calls out to you. Like for me, it was Streets and Frigate. I always loved Streets and Frigate. So early on in my career, I just grinded those times. I wasted a lot of time doing it because I learned the bad strats. That's probably another thing you should mention. Like, don't play shitty strats. Like, aim for higher. Always aim for like more. Like if you're going for 113, go for 112. Just keep telling yourself like I'm going to get 112, and don't feel happy until you get that 112. I'm very biased towards Streets, but
Learn how to learn and listen to players better than you, or else you'll be grinding forever with no end in sight. It doesn't hurt to take a break and come back to it later.
I don't think there's anything I could say that's like not been said already. I think what I think like one of the most, if not the most important thing, is to have fun. Like really, if you're playing to like get times and you're not having fun, then you're just gonna play better and you're not gonna feel good about it.
The concept that's helped me the most is chaos to order. Basically, I'd say don't expect to improve if you're not willing to break every little thing apart and understand how to beat it. If there are parts of levels, strats, or entire levels that have that looming feeling over them because you don't understand them, the best thing to do is go into them head on and make sense out of it, or expect to get nowhere. Even if that isn't quite true, obviously flukes are possible, I'd say it is the idea that has helped me the most by far.
So yeah, if I could give any piece of advice to a new runner looking to get some good times, it'd be to find a good work ethic and appreciate the small victories. Of course we want the end result and to achieve these times, but often these amazing times are the result of many hours of practice, understanding the level, and gradual increases of execution and consistency. Appreciate and take pride in the small things like maintaining better lines in certain segments, getting better quit out times at certain spots, and yes, even properly opening a door.
The most efficient way to get a good ranking in the game is just to be a really good player.
Yeah.
Even if you have 40 NAs, but you become somehow a really good player, then you're just going to wipe out everyone. That's pretty much what I did, is that I just focused on becoming as good as I could, and then just climb really fast. But it's the trick is to how to get as good as you can be. So there's many ways to do that, but the best way, I think, is to play a lot of different levels. So you do what Swiss does, and you don't just get stuck on one thing for 1 year. Because when I first played, I didn't rotate. I just played for like some basic world records. But had I been focusing more on just becoming a better player, those records would take like a trivial amount of time. Best piece of advice I have would be when you watch and study runs from other players, better players than you, pay close attention to what you're watching and try to find out how, why they're playing the levels faster than you, what parts of your game you can improve. Don't only just watch the better players, watch players who are at your skill level, watch players that you've just recently passed, and also watch your own runs back and look at, what parts of different levels you can improve on yourself. And don't like just passively watch them, because you can kind of just watch runs I've given this advice many times before, and people kind of criticize it and say, "Oh, I've watched like all the runs. I don't know. I'm not getting anything out of them." You also then have to go and try to, copy the runs as best you can, and then the actual muscle memory of doing that, you will learn what you're doing wrong or what you're doing really well. So when you're watching the run and you've already played the level, kind of imagine yourself playing it through while you're watching it. At the end of the day, you need to play your own game. You can't be too focused on what everyone else is doing. I think that's important. And I think it's also important to be really motivated, because it's such a hard game to learn and keep grinding for so many hours. Find out if you really want to play it. And if you really do, if you're really passionate about it, then find a good goal that you'll be really excited about, whether that's going for an untied record or going for points on every level. Leaderboards, there's so many ways to excel and to make your own mark in this game. And maybe it's a different league, like License to Kill. And also never feel pressured, because this game isn't really going to go away anytime soon. You could even take a year or two off, come back, and your times will still be on the leaderboard. Do whatever you can to get better. If you're really not good at the end of silo, right? When you do the camera snap, and then you have to go to the right of the satellite and go up the stairs. What I did actually when I was losing my mind going for 101, I would go up there, kill all the guards, clear out. And so I guess it was a little bit cheating because there's no lag, but I would practice the movement from taking the camera shot to go to left strafe, into that room, go up, past the satellite, and then go up the stairs. And I would do that 10 times in a row to make sure I knew exactly what was happening. And even just going into a level and looking around or something and figuring out, the geometry of it. Don't just sort of sit back and think, oh, I'll just play kind of over and over again and it will finally happen. You've got to kind of take that extra step where you kind of be proactive, It's not cheating or anything. It's just you want to give yourself the best edge possible. It's really good for a new player to start with the music on. If you then get really sick of songs on some levels and you feel like you play better without the music, that's cool. You can turn it off. For facility and silo, it absolutely helps. Those levels and train as well. Your pace changes so rapidly on very minor things. It's hard to get an eye for what you're losing time on, unless you have the ear as well to match what you're seeing. So you learn way quicker hearing the cues and trying to beat the cues.
Yeah.
And then if you have a run where you sort of watch it back and you go, oh, why was I not fast enough to get to that door at that time? It'll become much clearer if you have the music. And also think about the most important parts of the level, because not everything is as important as the rest. Also, if you're a new player, don't play any levels where you can die, and don't play any levels where you can fail. For the first few months, just play levels where you're always going to complete the level. It's just purely to do with focusing on your movements, your basic movement. So you start at the end, you start at the goal. I want to become a top 10 player. Okay, how am I going to do that? Well, I'm going to have to put in a lot of time to get good at the game, first of all. And then how am I going to do that? Am I going to play 2 hours a day every day? Or am I going to play 4 hours a day and then take a day off? Or am I going to play, a 16-hour session, kill myself, take a whole week off, and then try and do that again? Obviously you want to pace yourself, because it's more like a marathon rather than a sprint. Small little bits of time consistently is much more useful in that way. I think maybe that's a really good goal, for an upcoming player, is to just get their initials on the board. People can have slightly different play styles. Clemens moves in a certain way. He turns corners really sharp. And then Mark moves in a sort of way. On some levels he's different, on some he's different. So one of the nice things about the game is there's a bit of expression. But at the same time, it's pretty, you obviously can't wobble around. You've got to move in straight lines. I think I intuitively understood that, but I think a lot of players don't understand that. This is purely what I've done over all the time I play GoldenEye. I champion, you got to start on the absolute basics, and you've got to get them as good as you can, because every level is just then an extension of that. Obviously the level gets more complex, but you're still doing the absolute basic things. You're just doing more of them. You're just doing them slightly more difficult.
And with that, we've reached the end of this video series. Hopefully this provides an excellent stepping stone not only for starting your GE career, but advancing it as well. If you're interested in seeing more from me, follow me over at twitch.tv/Fletcher27. I plan on streaming very regularly come 2019, and I'm always willing to chat, provide advice, watch runs to give feedback, or even just chill and enjoy some memes and occasionally good GoldenEye. Thanks for watching, and best of luck with your runs.